let's get things going and let's talk about stuff. I wanted to share a tweet that came out from someone that I respect a lot, someone I respect a ton, and he wrote this tweet a few weeks ago, and I was taken aback by it. Question to everyone: I've been reflecting on my role in this political fight. I've dedicated a lot of time and energy helping Canada push back against the Liberal Party. My goal was to expose the problems and the rot with the Liberal Party and Justin Trudeau's duplicity. Read on. Over the past months or years, I worked hard to share information and media, and it's been amazing to see the growing dissatisfaction with the Liberals, especially as they're getting called out more and more on various platforms. I'm proud of what I contributed, which can be clearly seen by my contributions. In just 1 year, my X analytics, which is attached, whether through my videos, animations, GIFs, I think I have achieved my goal intended. Many of you haven't or have sent encouraging messages and shared how many actions have inspired you, which has been incredibly motivating and a source of pride to me. Now, with the Liberal Party seemingly on a steep decline and evidently going to lose the next election badly, I'm at a crossroad. Should I consider my mission accomplished and stop? I'm inclined to leave if I'm honest. And more people than ever are doing the work and are galvanized to do this, to out this government. But I value your opinions. What do you think? Is my work done, or should I stay involved in this? And I thought this was a very thoughtful question, because to me, this is the question of, do we continue this fight even after Trudeau's gone? Is Trudeau being gone the end of the fight? And I wanted to bring Vesper on for this discussion. So without further ado, let's have the man here now. Vesper, thank you so much for joining me and coming in willing to converse about this exact topic.
Oh man, dude, you're welcome. And I almost didn't make it today. I got clobbered. I was playing football. I think somebody almost took out a rib. But I'm I took some pain medication.
Look at
It
you
should be
though.
good.
Look at you though. Man. Since the last time I had you on, you're not even the same. You shed a guy. Like you
I
shed
shed
a
a
person.
guy.
You,
Yeah, yeah. I dropped.
you're
I've dropped.
you're
I've
half
dropped
the
close
man
to.
you used to be.
I've dropped close to 65 pounds, and
Holy
anyways,
cow. How'd you
yeah.
do
But you
it?
know what? Let's not even go there, man. Magic.
Okay, we're not
Uh,
going there.
yeah, I
Magic.
mean, we're living in Canada, and anything can happen, which you evidently demonstrated for the past hour. It's
Yes,
all
anything
madness.
can happen. Just insane, insane. Anybody who didn't catch that, go watch the stream where I was talking about all of that. I'm not getting into it here. But Vesper, okay, so you've done amazing work. Like I'm talking amazing work. Your graphics are fantastic. You're no amateur. Let's just say that. And you've really you have a great way of reaching people's sentiment that they have in the moment, and especially on particular things that are happening in the news, things that are happening that the news doesn't want to talk about, things that are happening on social media. And you come at it from a very interesting perspective, an interesting angle where most other people don't do this. You don't care about your following. You don't care about getting any of that stuff. You're on a mission. You want the Liberals out, and you're telling people, steal my stuff, get it out there. And that's what you've been doing for what, 2 years now?
It's yeah. It's actually funny. Somebody posted to a recent gift. By the way, I'm doing this just. It's not self promotion. It's so that you guys can steal everything before these guys are gone. These clowns and the clown verse ends. At least you can know where to go. So that's why I put that there. But it's funny. Somebody after a recent post wrote something, a hero of the people, like about me. And I said, no, I'm not a hero. I'm just another Canadian who is shamed and blackballed and given plenty of motivation. That's how I like to look at
Mm.
it. So I think it was the same with you. Really, there's no better way to give motivation to people that are skeptical thinkers, critical thinking, people that can think for themselves and would like to gather the data before they make up their minds. But when someone forces me or blackballs me or tries to guilt shame me, yeah, that's a good source of motivation for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And and boy were you motivated. I mean, just
Oh
like your
yeah.
your ability to pull like clips that you can't even find on the internet. I don't know how you get this stuff, but you find it, you mash it up, you put it together, and it is so damning. It's amazing. It's great. But now we're at a
Well,
crossroads. We're
well,
at a crossroads where
that's yeah, that's why, and thank you for reading that. That's I should have never put that up because nobody was gonna say, yeah, dude, good luck, go have a vacation. I literally got like, no, no, we need to keep fighting, and I'm like, oh man, I shouldn't have asked that question. I should have just
that's not
bounced.
what I said. Okay, I'm gonna
No,
read what I
no,
wrote.
yeah,
I'm
read
gonna
what you
what I
wrote.
said because you and I are friends, right? So I knew
Yes,
this, and I'm saying this legitimately. And I said I'd say keep fighting, but you'll have to consider what motivates you. If you feel that you've accomplished what you set out to do, then that just might be the might close the chapter in your life. If but you have a particular set of skills, you can rejoin this fight anytime you'd like. Like you're welcome
I
back anytime. Like
it
do what you got
was
to do.
it was precisely the kind. A few others said what you said, and I thought that was precisely a well balanced way of addressing it. I love that you want me to, but you're also looking at it like, dude. I mean, I don't know if you showed the stats when you were reading that, but the stats are mental. You know how mental I and manic I was. I should have been banned.
11 million impressions. Like it's
Like
pretty
I was
crazy.
one
It's
guy. I had conservative people block me because they're like, dude, you are just like, we can't go anywhere on X and we're just seeing your post. I'm like, yes, because I don't care about followers and I don't care about monetization. I don't care about any of that stuff. I want
Mhm.
eyeballs. I want everyone to see this is the hypocrisy that we're dealing with on a daily way. But the thing is, I wanted to add the element of comedy because mockery is how you take down somebody that thinks they're very serious when they're really a joke. And you've known this all along in our friendship. I'm really
Oh,
good at
absolutely.
doing
I think this is why we
communication.
hit it off so well, because
Yeah.
that's I mean that's the approach that I take. I think making fun of people, knocking them down a peg. I mean, I've worked in the trades my whole life, and when you work in the trades, this is what we do to each other. We rib each other, we knock each other down a peg. Don't let your ego get too crazy, because then you're just being an idiot, and you'll lose your mind, and then you'll make mistakes, and that's what we don't want in a team, right? We don't want that in
No,
a team, especially when you're talking
no.
about safety stuff. I work on cars. For people that don't know this, I'm an automotive mechanic. There's people's safety in my hands. So yeah, we rib each other, and it's a way of knocking people down a peg. And if it's your adversary, it's a great way to knock them down a peg so that they come back down to earth, and then you can then possibly have a dialogue at the end of the day.
And and
Or if
and and
not, get rid of the guy.
and really that's why I was like at this point, and it really wasn't like, oh, do y'all need me? I, I don't care. I what I really don't. I care about you people. I don't care about like everyone in the chat. I care about everyone fighting for freedom, everybody that believes in their inalienable rights. I believe in all that. What I don't care is about the popularity aspect of it because that's not what I wanted. What I wanted was, and you were the first one to give me a platform. So I'm giving you kudos on that. You were the first one to say, "Hey, this dude is making stuff. It's cool. Look at it." You kind of got the traction going. And I had a chance to say, because I was I charge a lot of money for this stuff that I make. And I'm not talking about the comedy videos. That's actually just for fun. I'm saying like the animations, all that stuff. I wanted it to like I saw what the liberals and the NDP were doing, and I just saw that the conservatives were just making corny things. Conservatives are just very, conservative, and they don't
Mhm.
fight dirty. Like you getting in a boxing match with a guy that like has lead in his gloves, and is throwing like putting glycerin on his face so that you can't punch. They're fighting dirty, and the conservatives at that time. Remember, I had started when you met me. There was no Pierre Poilievre. We were still under
Right.
O'Toole. Remember? And so
Yeah.
Mr. Debonair, Mr. I don't know how to properly lead a party to fight against fascist, socialist / Marxist ideologues.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't care anything about the conservatives at that time.
But
I
me
thought they were
neither.
just this.
Me
Yeah.
neither. They were milquetoast. They were bland. That's it. Okay. And we had a discussion earlier this week, and we'll cover on where Canada is going. The main reason why I felt like to ask that question was because, like, they're done. They're done. The NDP's done. All over the world, lefties are dropping like flies. Everybody
That's
that's
crazy.
a socialist is, because let's face it.
Well, and even right leaning candidates that were supposed to come in and be right leaning, like Phony Maloney in Italy, she's down in the polls because people are like, really, you're supposed to be the person that comes in and fixes all this, and you're doing nothing. You're just going
Well,
along with everything.
So we're gonna have two conversations, time permitting. We're gonna have the conversation about Canada and where Canada sits with everything that's happening globally. I hope that that's okay with you to cover this.
Yeah.
As far as Canada is concerned, and I expressed my opinion to you, and I hope people that watch this channel understand where I'm coming from. I've been reading enough, and maybe it's just my curiosity. I'm curious like a cat, that whole joke. I read the criminal code the way I read the Merriam-Webster dictionary when I'm in the toilet, type of thing. Like, I just read things that are inane that nobody would read, and I do them ad nauseum. And I find things that are incongruent. And what I came to realize after 2 years of bombarding, spamming liberals, conservatives, being hated by some conservatives for spamming, being hated by some liberals for spamming, and all the blah, 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 blah. I realized that it was never really, the more I dug into it, was that it was never really the party that was the issue. In Canada, as I read the Our Commons laws and I combed over them, and you know me, right? When I go into it, I go deep into it and I go over it with a fine-tooth comb. I realized that our mechanisms of governing this country, they're really screwed up. And they're not just really screwed up. Okay, so I point at the liberals. And I hope a conservative MP is watching this tonight, because it's really important that I highlight this. I point at the liberals constantly about how stupid they are and how stupid their arguments sound, and how, just like based on the videos that you said, it's self-evident that you're all hypocrites and liars, because I could literally pull anything out of anywhere to show people that you're lying. The problem is that we had 9 years of Harper when he had a super majority, and none of these laws, like the cost of an ethical breach. Let me just stay on that point. Why did you not amend, since you had a super majority, and raise the bar much higher for an ethical breach? Well, it probably was not in your best interest to do this. Or maybe you didn't feel it was important enough. What's the cost, by the way? I think you know better than me. What's the cost of having an ethical breach? It's like
I think it's like a
$1,000,
$500 fine or something like that.
Yeah. So you work with the Aga Khan. Maybe you get kickbacks in the millions, and because you found to broken ethics violations, you have to pay $500. This is the joke.
Essentially, that's it. You don't
This is
get
the
removed
joke.
from office. You don't get discredited. You don't nothing. You just walk away from it. $500.
If you
and
did this
then
at a
the party
regular
can-
job, you'd be fired. If
Well, you'd
they
be
found out
arrested.
well,
You would be
I'm not
arrested,
going that far.
and you wouldn't.
I'm not going that far.
Well, you
I'm
wouldn't come
saying
back. Yeah, right.
let's say you took a little bit of money out of the cash one day. You just needed $5. You'd still get fired. right? And they tell you to pay it
Yeah, they're not
back.
gonna arrest you over it. Yeah,
Yeah,
they'll
my
deduct it from
point.
your pay, and then you're gone.
So let's just talk in Canada. Is the problem a party problem? Now, I'm not. I am a populist. Okay, just so that everyone knows that I'm a conservative, but I'm also a populist, in that I believe that a nation, the citizens are the ones that the people we elect are supposed to be listening to. What has happened is that the mechanisms that are built have created a cocoon of indemnity for everybody that is in government. We keep saying the words accountability, and there's these laws, dude, there are laws. I'm going to share one law. Okay, and this is probably going to make you laugh. Okay, did you know, and I have to look at it. Okay, did you know that from 2003 to 2018, you could look it up, section 365 of the Criminal Code of Canada. So this is into Trudeau 2018, pre-COVID. Everyone who fraudulently pretends to exercise or to use any kind of witchcraft, sorcery, or an enchantment or conjuration, undertakes for a consideration to tell fortunes, or pretends to sell his skill or knowledge for the occult or crafty science to discover where and wherein manner anything that is supposed to have been stolen or lost may be found, is guilty in offense punishable by summary conviction. If you did practice witchcraft, that was actually in our laws, and it's been repealed. But that's the joke that this criminal code is. Look it up. Everyone look it up. It's been repealed, but it's section 365, okay, of the Criminal Code of
365.
Canada.
That means it was written recently.
But it's been repealed. It's been there since 2003 to 2018, okay? By the way, here's another one that you're going to find super funny. 2003 to 2018, again, under Trudeau. No dueling allowed. Everyone who challenges or attempts by any means to provoke another person to fight in a duel is guilty of an indictable offense and liable to imprisonment to a term not exceeding 2 years. That's section 71.
So
That
even
was,
challenging someone to a duel.
remember back in the day with the duels? That was in our criminal code. It was in our criminal code for 20 years. There is no overhaul. People are wasting taxpayer money on, I don't care what party anymore. Even I'll call out my party. Pierre, I'm looking right at the camera. If you come in and I personally do not begin to see you immediately work on the laws that govern parliamentarians, forget the dueling thing. That's funny. I actually think you should have left that there. That would have been really funny. But if you're going to come in and not fix the laws that govern parliamentarians, to me, that's suspect. And it means you don't want to set a precedent. And I begin to start doubting. So, okay, thank you for the carbon tax. Okay, thank you for all these things, but it's important.
If they follow through with that, and that's
I'm
where my
telling you,
concern comes in.
yeah, you and I are on the same page here. I'm giving you no more than a year. Forget the low-hanging fruit, as Andrew Scheer called it, the carbon tax. I'm saying you need to completely from the ground up recheck the entirety of what governs parliamentarians, not Canadians. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I'm curious. You said the Conservatives are your party. That's your party?
Yeah, well, my party. I am a conservative. I joined the Conservative Party.
Like you joined the party.
I'm a member.
A friend of mine gave me a pretty funny acronym. It's CUNT, Conservative Until No Trudeau, and that's
No, but let's be honest.
Canada's full of them apparently.
Listen, let's be honest. And you know me as somebody that is a strategist and a marketer. Okay, I didn't want to jump into it right now, but and we've said this on a previous stream. It's not so much that Pierre is winning; it's that the liberals are so stupid that the alternative is better.
Yeah,
people have to factor this in. Well, that's it. You have to factor this in, right? That if you have a clown and then you have a man in a suit, and the guy keeps clowning around, ipso facto, no matter what this guy says, as long as he's wearing a suit, I'll take him more seriously.
Yeah.
Okay. So all the clown stuff, like I don't know, did you watch what happened with Jag Meat when the reporters went completely savage on him with the questions, like why you still propping this guy up? Like after the NSACOP report and everything, and this guy, like he literally was in qualm mode. I'm gonna calm down, not raise my voice, and act like as if none of this affects me. I'm just very troubled by it. And he calls, I'm troubled by the leadership of Justin and Pierre. Pierre's not a leader, bro. He's not running the country. Okay. So let's just get something clear. You're still propping this up. And it's become clear that y'all don't care about your brands. For you guys don't even care that you're going to have a job after this. You know how many MPs leave and then go work somewhere else in some other company? They already got their connections. They can work somewhere else. So from where do we go? Because that was initially what happens. Trudeau's gone. What happens? Well, I think what's going to happen is a lot of people are going to have a fatigue moment. It's like the stages of grieving. You know, first we were in denial when they did the mandates, the COVID, all that stuff. Then we went into like some kind of anger or bargaining, like, come on, it can't be that bad. And then we went into grief, and then we're back into like anger, but there's a fatigue that's going on. And I think even if Trudeau leaves, that's not going to fix the sentiment in Canada, because what Trudeau and the Liberals have done, and you mentioned this before from Yuri, was it Yuri Bezmenov? You talked about this, the demoralization of
Oh
of a
yeah, the
people.
demoralization. Yeah, that's
Can
absolutely,
you
yeah, absolutely
explain
right.
that to people a little bit more? You do it better than I do. What was this whole thing?
So Yuri Bezmenov, for people who don't know who he is, he was a KGB Soviet defector. Like he wasn't just a Soviet defector; he was a KGB asset, and he was involved in espionage, and not the pretty espionage you hear about in Hollywood movies with like micro cameras and little guns that go pew pew. No, he was like actual espionage where they would infiltrate, apparatus, so they would infiltrate different parts of society in order to bring in what they called ideological subversion. And he defected from the Soviet Union. He realized that communism's terrible, free enterprise is a way better concept, and free, fair, open societies are the better way. When he came over, he said, "You guys need to learn about this because this is going to destroy the West. It's absolutely going to destroy the West." And he talked about how ideological subversion is it sows a seed in society in particular areas, and then it spreads like a cancer. And this is the whole idea. And for the first stage of it is demoralization. You want to demoralize the people so that they don't feel that the society that they live in is a good society and that they want something else. And then next comes, the following steps, which inevitably end in revolution, and then all the revolutionaries are disposed of so that they can bring in the next system of governance. And this is not what we want. We want to maintain a free, fair, and open society. And he was warning about the signs of it, and man, was he accurate about it. And even down to the T of how the ideologically subverted individuals that will probably come out of academia and entertainment, they said, it'll get to a point where it'll get so absurd that outside observers would think nobody would believe this, except that is the point. It'll get so absurd that it becomes a marker of ideological purity. If you don't go along with the absurd, even though you see it as absurd, you won't be seen as ideologically pure, and you'll be marked for removal, cancellation. All of this stuff is coming true. So yeah, Yuri Bezmenov is a profound character that went on tour in the 1980s to tell everybody about this stuff, and most people are just learning about it now. It's crazy.
Well, I mean, and now, so let's talk post Trudeau. Okay, but before we do this, I'd like to talk some marketing jargon that might set the stage, if it's okay with you.
Sure.
There is a concept in branding that is called the halo effect. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
I'll explain. I'll
I
explain.
think. Yeah. No, I don't think I've.
I'll explain it. It's a form of co-branding, and what happens if you co-brand properly or co-brand improperly. Now, initially, You had Trudeau and the Liberals, and they became a co-brand. The problem is he's been in office for so long that you know how you see on X and other social media, like Canada is not a serious country. Canada's become a clown show. Canada, this it's not. I mean, people are saying this because of this government. What's happened is there's been a subconscious tether to the country now, where the Canadians, while they love their country, feel it's not being represented properly on the world stage. So Edward Thorndike, and I'm going to read this because I don't want to.
Oh, so kind of like socialized medicine in Canada. So people always say
Made
like it's
things
become
like that.
well can well Canada for decades has been synonymous with socialized medicine. Like Canadians alike would say, you'd say, oh, things are not so great here, but then they would reply always with a defense saying, well, at
Right,
least we have socialized
right,
medicine,
right. You
and that
see
was
how there's
always a thing.
you see how there's a tether that's created. So
Hmm.
this was a very evident psychologist. He was in the 1920s. He termed it. He coined the term the halo effect to effectively describe the process in which humans develop a biased perception. Business owners and marketers can create leverage, awareness, and the halo effect by associating their businesses with other successful brands. Does that make sense? You're
Yeah.
creating an effect of association by brands. Once Trudeau's
Right. So,
gone,
can I give an example, perhaps? Like,
yeah,
so
go,
I'm in the
go.
yeah, I'm in the automotive world, and a lot of automotive manufacturers they'll often attach their brand to another brand that makes parts for that company. So, for example, like Dodge has their Mopar lineup for parts. GM has AC Delco. This is a thing that a lot of car manufacturers have, so that mechanics or parts people, when they're buying their parts, they go, oh, this is a GM, I need to buy AC Delco parts. Like, that's the genuine part,
Right.
even
So
though it
so
may
the
not even
so
be a genuine
so
part.
so while this is a joint venture between these two companies, the way you co-market and promote this union is very important. The
Hmm.
liberals have been promote Trudeau. It's so funny. I can't tell. Is Trudeau promoting Trudeau or are the liberals promoting Trudeau? Or is Trudeau promoting the liberals? Nobody knows anymore. But what's happened is because of the color red and because of the maple leaf and because he says Canada and because he's a laughing stock and because keeps saying stupid things because he's a narcissist, what ends up happening is that Canada gets this bad reputation. Now you could literally take, and okay, I'm not going to be blasphemous here, anyone short of Jesus Christ and put him like second to Jesus in command of Canada, and Canada would still be suffering the reverberations of the damage caused by this branding that's happened into the
Yeah.
minds of people. So Pierre is going to come on the scene. I have no doubt he's going to be a better solution than Trudeau. But the problem is that the damage in people's psyche, the wedging that has occurred that Yuri talked about, that by inversing reality and causing people to think that what is absurd is normal, and that if you call what is normal, it becomes absurd. This kind of subversion has occurred to such a degree that a lot of us fell for it and a lot of
Hmm.
us fought back against it in a good way and some people in a bad way, but the whole idea was to trigger you. It's like provoking you into a fight. Have you ever heard of the comedian Bill Hicks? bill hicks
Yeah,
described how
absolutely.
Bill Hicks described how the United States is the most warmongering country in the whole world. And the way they do it, he did it in a joke, is that the U.S. just shows up to a country and throws a gun at its feet and says, "Pick up the gun." And the guy on the other is like, "I don't want any trouble, mister." And the guy is like in a Jack Palance voice, pointing the gun at him. "Pick up the gun. You heard what I said." And it's like, look, everyone sees
Right.
I'm not doing anything. He picks up the gun and then he gets shot. We were provoked for the last 5 years, 4 to 5 years. All the liberals have been doing has been provoking what Canada has stood for fundamentally for hundreds of years. Even under Chrétien, even under any liberal leader, some of the stuff that he's doing now, his father didn't even say, right? Even though his father was horrible
Yeah.
for the country, he's gotten to the point where he's literally subverted Canada's identity. And he actually quoted it. I want Canada to be the first post-national state. Well, you've succeeded in not defeating Canadians, but in creating the air of that Canada is this like milk toast bizarro land. We're being mocked everywhere. Honestly, we're just being mocked everywhere at this point. So that's what I think of Canada, and what I think the next leader is going to have to do to gain the confidence back of Canadians is kind of like what Milei did. I mean, you know what Milei did as soon as he got into office. Uh, the Department of
Afuela.
Agriculture, yeah, the Department of Agriculture and ponies, no. The Department of Butterflies,
Afuela. Goodbye.
afuela. Like if he does not come in and take this very seriously, that you are not messing around politically anymore, you better regain the trust of Canadians, and it will not be with empty, long promises. So that's
Well, and
Canada for me.
Canadians don't have time. Canadians don't have time to deal with it. Like the human lifespan is only so long. I mean, like how many decades of just no prosperity can Canada go through?
Well, we got no more money, man. How the hell is he giving $5 billion away? We got no more money. How are you giving $5 billion to Ukraine right now? I don't understand. I'm trying to wrap my mind around it. Where are we getting this money? Like
Well, the
we
capital
literally,
gains tax, of course.
you had to throw that in. You had to throw it in. Respect, hey, respect. That's an argument. It's a good argument. So
Oh no, it's a stupid argument because the amount of money that'll be lost in our economy because of a capital gains tax like that is just
I know.
astronomical.
I mean, you
It's
might as well
this,
just make
but they don't
Canada.
understand the Laffer curve. They don't understand the Laffer curve. And for people who don't know what the Laffer curve is, it's this concept that was brought up by an economist called Laffer. His name was Laffer, and he came up with a curve saying like, when you tax the public, at a certain point the taxes get so great that people will opt out of the system. Like, and they'll have different ways of opting out. They'll cheat on their taxes. They'll limit how much they work. They'll just stop working. Certain people will just work under the table. They'll leave the country entirely if they're wealthy enough. Like all of these aspects, when the taxes get too great, because when taxes are at a medium range, people are like, okay, well, taxes are unavoidable. I'm going to just pay my taxes, whatever. And that's the way it goes. And you usually have more income generated from taxes at a lower rate.
Yes,
Because you see more prosperity in the country. You see more people come in and invest and
it's
all that stuff. And
it,
people are
it,
willing to pay the
in,
low rates. They're fine with it.
in Japan is the perfect example of this. If you just
Yeah.
let the culture work itself out and not meddle with the cultural dynamics, the economics is going to flow. But if you start bringing in well, I mean,
so I
I don't know.
disagree.
I've been looking. I've been looking at the numbers.
Right.
Economically, Japan is doing really well.
Well, so that's a complicated one. I agree with you on the taxation. Absolutely. I think that Japan's taxation is a great system. They've raised their taxes recently, and for obvious reasons, because of aging population and promises that were made towards them. But they made some serious errors, I think, after their big boom in the 1990s and 1980s. They went to an inflationary or stagflationary environment to preserve wealth for people who had built wealth during that boom era, and they didn't want those people to lose their wealth. So what they did was they lowered interest rates so that people could take out loans to keep the wealth going and just
Yeah, but
keep
I mean,
perpetuating the
okay,
wealth that they had.
but hold on.
In that circumstance, what it does is the malinvestments don't get liquidated, and then those assets don't end up in the hands of people who are more apt to actually do business with it. And this is what needs to happen. interest rates need to come up in an environment like that to natural market levels where you'll see liquidation occur and then new capital investment.
Okay.
That's been thwarted in Japan for about 30 years. I think the story of Japan is that they're successful despite bad economic policy, because of the ingenuity and the steadfast,
But it's not just that. Have you
hard work of
noticed?
their people.
But it's not just that. Have you noticed? And remember, I'm all about perception. The idea of how they are not. It's almost like as if they're not against their own citizens. They're not creating divisions. They're not. They're not.
No, never.
That's the point. The cultural ramifications of wedging a society will mess up everything. And I think what's been happening is that, I mean, dude, did you know that the PBO testified that he's under a gag order, was put under a gag order by the PBO, by the Prime Minister's office, to not talk about the carbon tax? Look it up. The public budget officer in a committee said, I'm under a gag order to not report on that Trudeau knew this would impact negatively the economy. Look it up. It's all over the place. National Post, Sun Post, it's all there. Nobody talks about
I got to read that. That's insane.
Nobody knows that the public budget officer was put under a gag order by the Trudeau government.
It's in the name. The public. I mean, God,
Perception.
It's crazy.
Perception.
It's crazy.
Right? So let's
his job is to report to the public what's happening with the budget.
You have to gag order him. No, you have to gag order him. He said 8 out of 10 will make in the short term, but in the long term, this is negatively going to influence Canada.
How do we get out of this? How do we get out of this, Vesper? Like, okay, so is there a political will for Pierre Poilievre, for example, to come in and reverse a lot of these laws, making it so they can't do that? They always promise transparency. I did a tweet today where it was a guy giving birth, and I said, this is Trudeau's idea of transparent. Like, this really is awful. Like, you will not, you'll never see what's happening.
Nobody has, for me, nobody, and I'm not that big of a fan. I respect him, but Jordan Peterson captured precisely what is the problem in Canada in an illustration. He said, if you have one key to the whole house, it is much easier to get in and make the changes that you need. Like, in other words, like a thief would come in and steal what he needs and then get out. There's just one door with one key. The Canadian government has so many keys and doors that literally Pierre Poilievre is going to be walking in. He's going to have to ram through and make we need this change. That's going to take a year. We need this change. That's going to take another year. Oh, we're also going to open the SNC investigation again. That's 2 years. We have an RCMP that takes forever. Everything is purposely designed, the mechanism. Like I said.
So there's no way that Javier Milei could come in and afuera like all of these departments and
no. Simple answer, no. There's no. Because for you to reverse all these things for you to reverse, they've created dependencies in the law. Do you understand? Like by acts. That this act stands on this act, but you have to reverse this act so that this act can work.
You don't think they did that in Argentina as well? You don't think that the
Yeah, but are we Argentina? Are we really Argentina? I'm sorry. Let's just address this. I'm born in a third world country. I'm Lebanese. Lebanese are not like Canadians in culture. Right? They are typically, they've been.
Incidentally, Northern Perspective was in the chat earlier and said that you're not allowed to say Lebanese in their chat. Apparently, it's a banned word. I don't know why.
So get this. We're in all seriousness. I lived in war. I've shared pictures with you of where I was when I was born into war and how I had to run for my life and hide in bunkers and yada yada yada. And many of the stuff that people see on TV, like it was par for the course for a couple of years until my dad said, yeah, you know what? Probably the next missile is going to kill us. So we're all leaving. That was like my dad's logic at the time. So it took him maybe 3 years to come to terms with the fact that shelling our homes is probably a time for us to leave. So when that happened, you needed to see the state of the culture they were naturally combative people. Do you understand? Like there was like the gloves were off. Nobody cared. Like regular people had machine guns and like it's bizarre. The amount of imbalance that occurred in my country because of whatever was happening in the Middle East caused so that people just completely went any way they needed to go. We had multitude of presidents assassinated in like while giving speeches and yada. The mentality of that kind of a people is not the same mentality of people that go to Timmy's, enjoy their Starbucks, they like watching hockey, they win the Olympic. Do you understand what I'm saying? We come from
Mm-hmm.
while very kind and very generous, we come from a barbaric environment where we're constantly looking out for if we're going to die, are we going to get hit, are we in a war moment. There's literal sirens in Lebanon. I don't know if you know that, like to tell you like, hey, everyone go and hide or go underground. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
the mentality of people that live in countries like this, and I'm not saying every country is like this, but when you go for this to Canadians who are decent, hardworking, bug nobody, do your work, do your thing. It's a free country. That's why we came to Canada. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why we came to
Mm-hmm.
Canada. But when you undermine this and now start telling people how to think, how to talk, and at the same time contradict yourself consistently and stupidly, and then put a gag order on the public budget officer, then the CRA says, yeah, we're not going to investigate all the money that's gone, the billions of dollars we handed out, blah, 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 blah. I mean, at some point, what's going to happen is that Canadians are just going to argue and maybe just get really pissed off and think they're going to vote this out. This is not going to get voted out. The system, I don't know who's that new guy that just came in. Was it for Venezuela? Who was the new guy that it's not Venezuela? There's a new guy that everybody's talking about that he came in and arrested all the gang members, arrested all these people.
Oh, is that El Salvador?
Yes. So this guy comes in unilaterally, does all this. Do you think that can happen in Canada? I'm asking your opinion. I mean, you know enough about our government. You've been reporting about it for years. Do you really think that one guy, two guys could walk in and suddenly, yeah, forget all these laws that we've set up, forget all these acts. We're wiping the slate clean and we're going to start like this?
I do think that it can. I do think that it can, but it would take like what we know of as a supermajority, for example. If there was a supermajority in government, they would. It's basically carte blanche. They can.
You still
You
have
tell
to
me
pass
no.
things.
They
You
can't.
still have no. You still have to pass things through. There still has to be committees. The engine is so slow. And remember, I told you this in the last time we met. A CEO once told me that you can have the same mass in a whale and in a large school of fish, and for it to turn the fish, same weight, they turn faster. Things in Canada, you have to rescind acts. You have to appropriate this act. Then you can put this law in. Now, things like carbon tax, that's going to be easy. I'm telling you, these are easy stuff. The real issues is there is not enough laws that are aimed at parliamentarians and protecting Canadians. We thought the Charter of Rights and Freedoms was supposed to protect us. They used that like toilet paper. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
No disrespect to
Yeah,
the
no, it's
Charter of
true.
Rights and Laws. They used it like it didn't exist. Man, the
Well,
guy's
there's
name
no respect
on
or disrespect to it.
they make
It's
laws they
just
don't
indifferent.
follow.
There's no.
Dude, they make
Yeah.
laws they don't follow. I remember I sent a message, and I won't mention who, but to a senator, and he responded. He was a very kind senator. And I said, is there a reason why the police are not arresting men walking around completely naked in a parade? Completely. It's against the law. And he said we can't
Mm-hmm.
do anything because it's not our government, and if we say anything, we're gonna be portrayed as bigots. The government of today is not enforcing its laws. An overhaul of these laws is one thing. Holding parliamentarians to account is really where I believe, this is my opinion, you need to reevaluate the Our Commons laws and make it so that if
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to swear on your channel, but if you even think of doing something that is like deleterious to other people, if there is a slight perception of a conflict of interest, your penalty is not $500, my friend. It's $100,000. It's $100,000, and you're kicked out. Like zero tolerance for stupidity anymore. And if people can't do this, if the
And barred public office and that kind of thing, like
yeah, and I don't
serious.
care. Yeah, I'm talking about you need to take it to the point where if you screw around with the people of Canada, Pierre has to do this to his own party. It needs to start in his own party. And you know, I'll give him credit. So this NSICOP report comes out, and at least they stood up and said, "Hey, man, put out the names. We don't care if there's people in our party. Put it out. We'll call them out."
Well, he said on Andrew Lawton's show, he was on Andrew Lawton's show, and Andrew Lawton asked him. This was a long time ago, actually. It was, I mean, in terms of news, like it being months and months ago, that's a long time. But yeah, Pierre was asked, like, if it turns out that there's conservative MPs, what would you do? And he's like, they're gone, they're out.
They're not
out of the
just
party.
gone. I believe Pierre, with Brock and all these people, and you know how Northern Perspective covers these people, these guys would actually go after their own party. Now, again, are they saviors? No. I just told you the problem is not parties. If they don't rescind or fix the laws that govern parliamentarians, we're right back to a hope and a prayer. That's really what it is. Supermajority doesn't look, it gets you doing things faster, but it doesn't guarantee you that the laws to protect Canadians from fascist ideological mental nut jobs is going to work. Pierre has to create the precedent. I will hold myself accountable, and this is how I will hold myself and everyone in my party accountable. It is now written into law. And then if there is a way, I don't know how, to kind of issue some kind of edict that would allow for people to require or request some kind of like power in the people's hands, man. We have no power other than our MPs, but we don't know if our MPs are captured. Look at Jack Meat. You think Jack Meat represents every NDPer? Look at his polls.
Or even Burnaby South. I mean, he's in Burnaby South. I know people that live in Burnaby South, and like he doesn't represent them at all.
He's dropping like a rock. He's been persistently dropping. He's had the lowest numbers of any NDP leader. The problem is that they get in office and there's nothing in law to hold them to account. Section 223 of our Commons, Section 2. Look it up. Any of you listening to me right now, look up Section 223 of our Commons, Section 2. Do you know that the Speaker of the House still has the power to arrest somebody if there is credible evidence in the Parliament?
Yeah, I remember you discussing this with me before.
Like, this will never happen because what they've done is it's a dereliction of duty. They've handed it off to all the liberal judges that are now being appointed. A new Supreme Court judge was just appointed. You know who he is? He's a liberal.
No, who is he?
Ex-liberal.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Like, nobody understands this, that if Pierre, you come in, that's what happens. Now, globally, Canada is going to need about 30 years to regain any kind of respect. I think for business, we'll be able to do business quickly,
so, yeah.
But to regain the respect we had before this clown show called the Liberals and Trudeau, yeah, that's
I think business-wise, I think it's going to be a difficult run because, you know, the Conservatives would get in and entrepreneurs would be like, yeah, I'm happy to, you know, come in and do business with you. But I'm pretty weary about paying for any substantial infrastructure due to the last government that was in. And we don't know if your government will be popular after the austerity measures that are necessary to perform. Are you going to be, is it going to be like Trump, where Trump comes in for one term and then here comes Biden to ruin everything again? You know, is that what's going to happen? Pierre gets in, he has to do a bunch of stuff, becomes unpopular because he lays off all.
It doesn't matter. Millet, I don't know if you heard Millet's speech. Millet came up and said, "I'm sorry, it's going to be hard, but we're going to go forward with the plan that we're doing." He has to stand his ground. I hate austerity. Nobody likes austerity. But somebody broke something and now I have to fix it. What do you want me to do? I'm not going to keep printing money. I'm not going to make the country go bankrupt. So, look, I don't want to keep going on this. I think from my vantage point, I think I've made my point clear. I don't think the problem is mainly party. The mechanisms of our government are so slow and so many doors and so many keys that even with a supermajority, sure, you could pass a few laws quickly. But when Harper was in power for how many years? 9 years? Him too. He was in power for like 8 or 9 years. So, yeah. Why didn't he do anything? Why didn't he do anything? Why didn't you fix the law?
It was a happy, corrupt Canada up until then. It just got more and more and more. Yeah. And Trudeau was the precipice
China
of the
and Trudeau. Dude, everyone's saying China and Trudeau. Listen, we had the former head of CSIS stand up and say, since Mulrooney all the way until now, they have all known of Chinese interference. Like, we need to get over this. Like Trudeau.
So economically, I was a fan of what Harper did. I mean, he really helped us out, not get hit so hard with the 2008 crash that happened in the United States that affected so many other countries, all the way to Europe, all the way to Japan. It was pretty big. But Canada got through that pretty easily, actually, because of the good economic policies that we had at the time in Canada. That being said, he also he tried marching us into the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which, thank God, didn't happen. And these are good things that they didn't happen. So yeah, he was very much on board with these global trade deals and stuff that would hurt Canadian businesses. It would not be good for Canada, these kinds of large deals. I'm much more of a fan, and people might criticize me for being a fan of Donald Trump, but I'm much of a fan of his idea of, you want a trade negotiation? I'll go in and I'll trade with it. I'll make a negotiation with each individual country. That's what I'm here for. We don't need a blanket negotiation that covers all these different countries.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, let's not be black-pilled. I hate black-pilling people. I'm a realist, and there's always a solution.
Yeah. Well, this is why I'm saying there is a solution with trade deals. Right. We don't have to have these blanket ones. We can do them individually.
Pierre is gonna leverage LNG. Pierre is going to start talking nuclear. We're going to see an influx of money coming into this country. That's important. People are forgetting, not that everyone here in your audience, I'm saying people in general forget that while Trudeau damaged the economy, he's also stifling growth. He wants a particular niche of the economy to grow. Right, the climate agenda niche needs to grow, and so we need to go green.
Every central planner has had these kinds of ideals. I mean, this is par for the course for a socialist, and the inevitability of where it goes. Yeah, it absolutely is.
So, as a person that believes, and I am a conservative member, I'm giving a short rope. I want to see business come into Canada. I want to see the West strengthened again, which is the bread and butter of this country. I don't care what anyone says. I am in Quebec, and you can say whatever you want about hydro and blah, blah, blah. The money comes out of the West. And as long as people understand this, you don't limit and stifle and vilify that, you monkeypoxes. You don't do this. You get out of the way and you let them. And as long as if you don't stop this, then you're going to destroy basically a sector that holds up Canada. Dude, Mark Carney, I made a video. You must have watched that video on X. I did a video on Carney. Do you know Carney in 2003 said Alberta is the breadwinner for Canada, and there's no way we can go without oil and gas? Fast forward 4 years, and him in the World Economic Forum and the World Health Organization and blah, 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 blah. They all got on this whole climate agenda BS. And it's just bizarre because I have him on video saying we can't live without oil and gas in Canada.
No, we can't. We cannot. It's unbelievable. And why? Like, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, we could talk about that all night. I want to get to some of these super chats here. We've got Robert McFallon for $5 says, Vesper is an absolute legend. You're both on the correct side of history. Well, appreciate that.
I love you, Rob. Very much. What's up, Rob?
Northern Perspective saying for $10, Thank you, Northern Perspective, by the way. Vesper is the hero Canada deserves, but not the one it needs right now. So they'll hunt him because he can take it, because he's not our hero. He's a Dark Knight. Oh, God.
Dark Knight,
Quoting films
Batman.
here.
I am Batman, by the way.
Yutaka,
That is
you're
on my
Batman.
X profile.
You
I
don't have
am
the
Batman.
voice.
I don't
You
need
don't
the
have the
voice.
voice,
I,
though,
I
yeah.
don't need the voice. This is me being Wayne. So I don't have to
Anyway,
talk like
yeah,
that. If I need to talk like that, I put that mask on.
Yutaka for $2 says Security of Information Act, Section 15. I'll have to look into that. I'm not sure what that is.
Sub Yutaka.
And Chippy's Outdoors member for 24 months. That's 2 full years now. That's crazy. Thank you for being a member for that long. Says, good evening, Clyde and Clydettes. Sitting around with some wobbly pops. Happy Father's Day to all of us dads. Absolutely. Happy Father's Day to you, my friend. You're a tremendous father, always looking out for the safety and well-being of your children and your wife as well. It's what all good fathers do. So yeah, happy Father's Day to you, my man, and happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much. But so Vesper, what is the place for you? Where is the place for the rest of us once Trudeau is gone? Is this a fight worth pursuing, or does some of us need to just hang up the hat and move on to different things?
I honestly look. I'm in it for different reasons. I don't monetize. This is not a career for me. In fact, everyone knows me knows that I'm a designer. I'm a graphics artist. I mistakenly used my brand, and it cost me for using my brand because it gave me notoriety. But the people that knew me stood on the opposite side of what I believed, which is fine. It's a sacrifice. We all have to make sacrifices. I think for me, I made a distinct amount of time that I said that I would devote to this. Now, remember, I was motivated to do this because of what was done to me and others. And you met me at probably the lowest time in my life. And for that, we became friends. And I will forever be grateful to that. It is important that people understand that you are to hold the next government very, very, very carefully to a higher standard than even because there's no more standard with these clowns. I'm sorry, like you've lost the plot. If Pierre gets into power, there's going to be mass celebrations. I'm telling you, we're going to have another Ottawa Fest and everything. And who knows? Maybe we'll all meet there for the first time because you and I have never met face to face. Who knows? Maybe
It's gonna be. I'm remembering Obama getting elected, though. I'm remembering everyone going, "It's gonna change. Everything's gonna change. It's gonna be great.
Right.
It's gonna be." And
false
then how much
promises.
change did we see?
Yeah, false promises. I am not persuaded, and I will never be persuaded because of my study of history, that new governments come in unless they are radically the alternative from Trudeau. Then I don't see much of a change. But what I will say strategically, if I was in the war room, colloquially speaking, with Pierre and the rest of them, I'd say, well, look, we can't lose the plot because our enemy is malicious and nefarious, and they will use messaging on anything we do. We got to give them nothing. What we got to do is we got to give them nothing. So there's a lot of people that are saying, why aren't they talking about, let's say, this agenda or this agenda or this agenda? Easy. Because the people that run mainstream media and the people that fund them use whatever you give them to vilify you. So what's their best way to win a match with a villain is to not enter the ring with them. So for me, Trudeau is gone. I go away. Hey, Batman needs a break. I need to go away. I go away, but that doesn't mean that if this government doesn't start clowning around, that I won't come back. Again, I've said this to everybody. And look, I want to say thank you to everyone that has followed me. Can I say this just to clarify? Thank you for everyone that followed this account. I'm not, when I say I don't care, I really don't mean I don't care to know you and that we stand together. I mean, please don't misunderstand me. I came in with my set talents to help with the fight, but there's got to be a point where I step away and say, okay, I've done as much as I could. I'm not making this a career. I'm not getting paid for this. I don't need, because putting videos together, Clyde, you above all people know what I'm talking about. This is not an easy feat. You could be good at it, but it's not easy. Making 3D animation GIFs takes a day sometimes to make these GIFs of a sinking ship or a boot slamming the liberal logo and all these things. I make it look easy, but I'm only willing to devote a certain amount and then say, okay, now that they're gone, let's give these guys a chance. And if they mess around, so let me ask you the question. I suppose I should turn the question. I think you should continue. I think Northern Perspective should continue. I think every channel that has been holding this government to account should continue for at least a year into this to see what happens. Okay. That's my opinion. But I don't know about whether I should continue. And I guess I would ask you what, I mean, you've told me your answer if I'm tired. It's not that I'm tired. It's, I feel like there's so many people already awake. What's the purpose of me being there? And maybe that's what you could help explain that I maybe not didn't understand. To me, it's like I did more than maybe 50 accounts combined in 1 year. If you took my 2 years, I did probably worth 100 accounts and just constant spam. I'm telling you that they should have banned me. I don't know why they didn't ban me off of Twitter and X for what I did. But the question is there even a need anymore for people like me if it's gotten this clear? And that's what I mean, I trust you. What do you think?
So I think there's always going to be a need
and be brutally honest. I need brutal honesty from you. We've always been brutally honest with each other.
Oh, so and this is what I'm going to say. Like I think there's always going to be a need for people to advocate for what's right. It doesn't always need to be the same people, though. That's the thing. Like you don't necessarily need to be the guy to do that. And if that's not something that you even want to be doing, then that's kind of like, okay, well, I'm gonna hang up the towel for now until I'm needed again in that kind of situation. What I'm looking at because my family's gonna be moving to the United States pretty soon here. I'm in a unique position to bring to the table something that's not already at the table, and that's an advocate to say, look at the canary in the coal mine up north in Canada and continue the Canadian story in the United States, because I think that there could be, if there's enough public pressure from the United States, Canada could be another place where pressure can be put on Canada by raising awareness of what's happening there.
Well, I mean, if Trump becomes president, hold on, let's just be clear. Once Trump is president, we're immediately gonna be dealt with. Like, it's like daddy coming home. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I think is gonna happen. I think, look, I think your move, to me, it doesn't matter where you are. You can go to the Cayman Islands. If you care about Canada and you want to talk about Canadian news, dude, nobody knew where I lived until I shared that I was in Quebec. Do you understand? For my accent, anyone that's listening to me right now knows that my accent is not Canadian at all. You would think I was from Jersey. New York, or something. You would have thought I was an American. No, I live in Quebec. I just worked a lot in the States and grew up a lot in the States. But does that matter? What I'm here to do is point out the truth and inform you of what you're doing. Now, if you are doing,
so for me, I actually get a lot out of this, and it's not like not because I get paid or whatever. I actually keep my job, and I like keeping my job. I have a full-time job, and when I get down to Texas, I'm looking forward to being a mechanic down there. I do this in my free time because I really enjoy this. Like, this is a huge stress relief for me. I used to be like pulling my beard out, listening to the CBC in cars and stuff like that, and freaking out, and I had nobody to vent with. And this has been such a great outlet for me. So this is something that I'm just going to keep doing because it's therapeutic, if anything. And you know what's great? You know what's great is I get to have great conversations with people like yourself. this really, really is something that without this platform, I would never have the opportunity of doing and bringing so many people along for the ride. So I think there are so many benefits out of continuing it for what I'm doing in
Well, I
my
mean, dude, look,
capacity. Uh,
look what they invited you to do is to be one of the speakers. Your work clearly has been there from the beginning. You and I were there when people were getting trampled by horses. We were fighting and
mhm.
talking as much as we could. Now you had a bigger platform than I did, but the idea is that I've always loved, and I know you hate when people say this, but I love your humility, that you didn't think of me as just a small nobody account. You saw that I was trying to help the narrative of what's the truth. And I think
Yeah.
enjoying conversations and meet, you never know who you're going to meet. Like nobody knew that I did this for 20 years.
Surprise, surprise. Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
nobody knew that I did this for 20 years with like big companies. But the issue is
What
that
I think what was it? What was it? You reached out to me and you had a
oh,
3D
we can't talk
rendering of.
about we can't talk about this because I don't want your channel getting canceled. So let's just not talk about it. All we
That
could
was
say
funny.
is
No, no, no.
all
We're
that
not
I
getting
could say is
canceled
that it
for it.
was called Woe Canada. That's all it was called. Whoa, we're living in Woe Canada.
It was a graphics, and I said there, I fixed it.
And you fixed my graphic.
and,
I was like, who's this guy?
and it was a
And then you
really
know
bad.
what?
Yeah,
It
who's
was
this
really
guy?
bad, but it was so much more apt and more accurate than what I did. So I respected you even more for that. I don't
Okay,
let
it
people
was a
do
black it
art.
was a Black Panther Trudeau, and it had his face, and I was like, it should be blackface, so I made it blackface
He
really crude,
literally
and
just
it was
used
funny.
black ink all over the face. I was like, this guy's drawing over my art. This guy's drawing over my art. And then I was like, but you know what? That's actually funnier. And that's how we became friends. Well, I'm not sure if you're frozen right now, but if, in case anyone else hears me, I'm just gonna wait. I think there's a slight
Oh,
interruption. Let me know when you're back.
we were in between satellites. This is the thing. We're on Starlink here, so
It's all
every
good.
once in a while,
I
pop
just tried to
between
carry the
satellites.
conversation. I tried to carry the conversation a little bit. You know.
You know what's funny is I get kicked out now that I'm using StreamYard. The audience doesn't lose the connection. I get kicked out, and whoever's that I'm chatting with gets to just hang out while I'm gone for a minute. We got
I
Trish Prue here with another $2 super chat saying, Vesper, you need to do what's right for you. Love ya. Awesome, awesome, inspirational. This is. I think people, they get to a point where they feel pressured that they've done a thing, so now they feel like they have to keep going with the thing. And I want people to realize that, you know, people will support you in your decision to just lay back if you feel like that's what you want to do. If you feel like the job's been done, and I'm not talking specifically to you, Vesper, but to anybody who's out there and stressed out and like, oh, I have to perform, and I have to do this thing all the time. That can be too much for the psyche, and that can be too much to put you into a spiral. And I'd rather not see people go down that path. I'd rather see people do things that make sense for them, their mental health, their all of these things. We've seen this happen with other creators, come out and say that mental health is in
I
decline and
completely
stuff like that.
agree. I completely agree. And I think for me, it was not about mental health. It was not about depression. It was not about it's too much. I mean, it does happen sometimes. I've admitted that to you, but it was more about effectiveness. I hope that you've always felt that about me, that Vesper's about
Mhm.
effectiveness. Is it
Yeah,
effective to
absolutely.
continue when now thousands of people, even liberals, are turning on Trudeau? Have we not accomplished what we set out to accomplish?
That's a
Do you
great
get what
point.
I'm
That's a
saying?
great point. Yeah,
I mean, what
absolutely.
was it that?
I
What,
think
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think there's a place for a lot of the people who've been fighting. My main fight is for liberty, and it has been since the Freedom Convoy. It's always
Yeah,
been for liberty, and I don't think that fight's over. If your fight was to get Trudeau out, then that was your fight. You know what I mean? And I know my fight's not over when it comes to liberty, and I think it's a fight for all of Western civilization and the world. I hope for communist countries to turn around and have bastions of liberty in their areas too. I would love for Venezuela to turn around, for China to turn around, for other parts of the world that are not doing so hot, to see the benefits of classical liberalism, the whole concept of actual liberty. So that's
I
what I'm
think
fighting for.
I think countries that have the best chance of uh, overturning fascism are countries that don't have Starbucks and Tim Hortons. And I'm dead serious. I mean, I was watching two guys. We were in Montreal at a Tim Hortons cussing out the government about how their freedoms are curtailed, meanwhile enjoying their donuts. And I'm like, remembering when I was in Beirut running for my life from like a missile that landed and just blew a hole in the middle of the street. And I'm like, and people, just citizens picking up like rakes, batons, swords, not anything to just, I don't want violent revolutions. What I'm saying is, I
No.
think we're very angry, we're very hurt, but we're still very polite. And a lot of people have stopped being polite. And I'm not one of those people that wants to be polite anymore. I'm sorry. So
I'm in the same boat. I'm in the same boat. And I think Canadians need to stop saying we should be allowed to do something and start saying, I have the right to do this. This is my God given right, my inalienable right. You cannot infringe on my rights. And I think that's where we need to stand on
agreed.
on this. I
Agreed.
got a couple more super chats, and then I think we'll end out the stream. Please stick around. We'll have more conversation as usual. But let's get into this. Milady loves cats. Great name, by the way. I always love when she comes in with that name. Milady loves cats with a $20 super chat. Great show, you two. Happy Friday, boys. Thank you very much. Also with another $5 super chat saying, Vesper, you look great. I think the first time I saw you, your first appearance with Clyde, it was with Clyde. Good job, man. That's awesome. And like I said at the beginning of the show, you shed a guy since the last time I had you on. You're a much smaller man.
Batman couldn't fit in the suit no more. That's the
You
problem.
couldn't
I
get the
couldn't
bat
fit.
suit on. All right. We got Penny D with a $20 super chat. Happy Father's Day, Clyde, and also to Vesper, obviously. Father's Day coming up day after
My son,
tomorrow.
interesting
So
fact,
that
my son is born on Father's Day. I got the best present of all.
Oh, you got the best present. Uh, I guess second running on Father's Day for the next foreseeable future.
I don't.
It's always gonna be your
That's
son's birthday. You're always gonna get
I love it.
shadowed.
I don't need a happy dude. Nobody celebrates Father's Day. Nobody cares. They just what, they buy you a
Nah.
card and they buy you like a
I was
muffin. Father's Day. Happy
somebody asked me
Father's Day.
today
We
because I
love you,
forgot it
Dad.
was somebody asked me today because I forgot that it was gonna be Father's Day, and they're like, "Oh, what are you doing Sunday?" I'm like, "I think I'm gonna pull the family van in. I'm gonna do brakes on it, a couple tires, maybe."
Nobody
Like,
cares.
it's Father's Day. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
It's a
nah,
thing.
nobody cares.
Anyway, everybody, thank you so much for joining tonight. Bearing with me last week with the terrible internet. And this week made a better situation using this new software. It seems to be working out. So thanks everybody for your patience, and thank you Vesper for joining tonight. And of course we'll have you again. And yeah, go follow Vesper and
If you
steal
want to
everything.
laugh, if you want to
Steal
laugh
all
and
of it.
steal it all, no credit. Don't give me nothing. Use it. I'm making it for all of you Canadians. Do whatever you want with it. Attack, attack, attack until they're gone. And then if the other party does the same thing, I'll just make it blue.
All right, everybody, keep on trucking.